All right, let's get into it. So in my last video, my intro video, I kind of left you all with just these 5 promises, election speeches, whatever you want to call them, that Donald Trump gave, that I just kind of felt like I was disappointed, I was calling them lies and this and that. And so I wanted to start today by kind of getting a little bit more into that, giving you guys a little bit more of a background on why I said that, the things I said, maybe a little bit more understanding of me and who I am. And that way you guys just can maybe have a idea of where I'm coming from, kind of how my mind is working. And yeah, I guess why I said the things I said. And I don't want to stick too long on this though, because I don't want this to become like a political pundit podcast. I'm not trying to do that. And yeah, before we go any further, actually, let me hit my disclaimer. I know jack about squat. I know absolutely nothing. So just remember that the whole idea is just to try to learn here and see where this goes. And yeah, so let's just jump right into it. So to start with, I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. At the time I was in college, and a bunch of my friends at the time gave me a lot of heck for voting the way I did. But in my defense, all I knew at the time really about Hillary Clinton was the whole email scandal. Hillary Clinton was using a private email server for official business as the Secretary of State. And I'm pretty sure, even though there were no criminal charges, no conviction, no findings of internal wrongdoing, it was just essentially poor judgment, and it was just heavily criticized. It definitely impacted the crap out of her campaign. And so let's just jump right into it. One of the big things that I think many of us will remember was the FBI director at the time, James Comey, and this letter that he had released, literally I think a few days before the actual voting process began to take place here in the United States. So right over in here, he wrote this out to the chairman, and he said, "In previous congressional testimony, I refer to the fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had completed its investigation of former Secretary Clinton's personal email server. Due to recent developments, I am writing to supplement my previous testimony. In connection with an unrelated case," let's blow this up a little bit actually. "In connection with an unrelated case, the FBI has learned of the existence of emails that appear to be pertinent to the investigation. I am writing to inform you that the investigative team briefed me on this yesterday, and I agreed that the FBI should take appropriate investigative steps designed to allow investigators to review these emails to determine whether they contain classified information, as well as to assess their importance to our investigation. Although the FBI cannot yet assess whether or not this material may be significant, and I cannot predict how long it will take us to complete this additional work, I believe it is important to update your committee about our efforts in light of my previous testimony." So that came out, shortly before Election Day. And then even after that, he announced that nothing had changed in the FBI's conclusion. But I think we all can agree that this heavily damaged Hillary Clinton's campaign. And so for me at the time, that's all I pretty much really knew about her, was this whole email scandal thing that was going on. And then you have President Donald Trump, jumping into the limelight at this point, this reality TV star that we all pretty much knew from his show, The Apprentice, You're Fired. Even seeing him in movies like Home Alone, he was all over the place. So for me, I believed that Trump would be different. He came in and he brought this energy that the world had never seen before, especially from a politician. He was trash talking people, giving people nicknames, just roasting the crap out of other politicians. And then he prided himself on being this billionaire. He didn't need any backing from anybody. I mean, he even said it himself. Let's jump into this one right quick.
I don't know. I self-fund, and I don't know if it's worth it. So far I'm in for like $40 or $45 million. I mean, I don't care. Even if you're rich, that's a lot of money, right? It's $45 million, that's a lot of money. I'll tell you this. I don't know that I get credit for it. I'll be honest. Guys are offering Jeb Bush raised $168 million, right, for his super PAC. I would have raised 5 times that, and a lot of times I feel foolish. I feel foolish that I'm turning down millions of dollars. I have one.
So yeah, he like took pride in, letting everybody know that he couldn't be bought. He had his own money to get this all done. So he didn't need donors, anything like that. And for me, that really stood out, because in my small-minded self at the time, that's all I really knew, is money was destroying politics for us. And if we could get somebody that wasn't relying on donors and didn't owe anybody anything else, then maybe our country can start going in a better direction. But again, I know jack about nothing. So, and then this past election, the 2024 election, I didn't vote. I knew it was being told to all of us that this is the most important election of our lifetime. You need to get out there and vote. The most important election of our lifetime. We have people waiting in line 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to vote. Lines all across around the blocks and things like that. We have a bunch of that too. Let's jump into some of that right quick to kind of give us a little backing here.
We stood in a zigzagging line for 5 straight hours.
4.5 hours.
Saturday, the 4th and final day to early vote.
And I just can't believe I waited 3 hours.
Some voters waited up to 4 hours as a seemingly endless line crept along all day.
We got through it.
Mark and Linda Cunningham.
So yeah, the people, they got out there and they did their thing, I think record numbers in voting, or so we're told. Anymore you really don't know what to believe, but the people did it. They made it happen. And of course, Donald Trump was elected, but there we go. And so for me, I didn't see the point at that moment. I had already grown bitter with government. Biden definitely was in no state to hold the office. And the Dems, they didn't even hold a primary. So it just felt already super fake and beyond repair for me. And then on the other hand, our two options, were Kamala and Donald Trump. So we had someone who many of us felt was not even what's the word, have the credentials, to really hold the seat of president for the United States, Kamala. And then on the other hand, we just had this trash talking, larger than life TV host. And for me, it just felt like we were being served a shit sandwich or a shit hot dog, and you just had to choose. And either way, the American people were going to eat shit. And then not to mention, we had just gone through hell with COVID. I was a sucker in the beginning, and I believed it. I was truly scared. Weak immune system, this and that. And seeing things like this on TV, just terrified the absolute crap out of me.
This is truly an unprecedented situation.
This virus doesn't discriminate. It attacks everyone.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead.
The coronavirus has changed life as we know it across America. But how did we go from 0 cases?
So yeah, it completely took over the media for us. It completely took over the news, and yeah, we saw things like China building hospitals in 10 days, businesses just completely crashing and never recovering, people losing their jobs, these forced vaccinations happening. But with Trump's second term coming in now, I definitely had hope. I won't lie to you all. I was foolish. I had a bit of hope. I thought he was going to be able to come in. He was gonna be able to change some stuff for us actually this second go around, especially when you had, every single major podcast in the world, from Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, guys like that, guys that I listen to, pushing him and praising him. And so for me, I definitely had a bit of hope this second go around. And not to mention, he also was bringing in this superstar cabinet, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK and his Maha movement, JD Vance, Cash and Dan Bongino, who they both made their careers off of talking about releasing the Epstein files and cleaning out the deep state. And then, I mean, even Elon, you know, coming in doing Doge. And so again, I know jack about squat, but I had faith. I sat here telling my girlfriend, I think this time we might actually see some change for people like you and me. We might actually see some prices come down or be able to keep a little bit more cash in our bank accounts. And at this point, we've kind of seen how that's gone. And I brought up all these videos in my first intro podcast just to kind of give you all an idea. And so I want to just jump back to these and show them again.
I will prevent, and very easily, World War III, very easily. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And it will take me no longer than one day.
You know, so we're being told wars are going to get ended. We're being told files are going to be released.
So let's listen to this.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about it. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
So we had that, being told the economy is going to get better for us.
With millions and millions of people walking right through our border, it means the price of household goods will start to plummet. Groceries and rent will no longer break your budgets, and you will have thousands of dollars of savings by the end of the year. Let me just tell you, we're going to get your energy costs down in 1 year. We're going to get your energy costs down by 50%. We'll cut it in half. We're going to cut it in half.
So economy getting better, and of course, paying down the national debt.
$1 trillion debt.
Number one, we're paying down debt because people have allowed the debt to go crazy. But, you know, with growth, with the kind of growth we have now, the debt is very little, relatively speaking.
Tariff revenue doesn't mean lower prices.
So yeah, you know, we were told all that, and like I said in my first one, I personally don't think I've seen any of that happen. And again, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, please. I'm just here to learn. I'm here to make my voice heard. And yes, but for me, unfortunately, I feel as though, you know, the billionaires get richer, the poor keep getting poorer. And that's why I said I don't consider myself left or right. I just want the opportunity to live a life where, you know, I can afford a new car. Groceries aren't $100 every single time you show up at the store. Health insurance is affordable. I mean, I haven't had health insurance in almost 5 years, I think. And maybe be able to actually afford a house one day. Like I said, I currently live in a studio apartment, but as of right now, that all just seems like wishful thinking. And Paranoid American the other day on Kurt Metzger's podcast, so this was actually probably a little while back, but I just re-listened to it, and he brought up a point, an analogy that I thought was really kind of applied to today. And he said that you could be the largest or the biggest basketball fan of whatever team you want, dripped out in all their gear and whatnot. But basketball players at the end of the day will have a drink with each other before they will with their biggest fans, because it's not about which side you're on. It's about the class you're in. And I thought that was a great analogy for almost where we're at today. So I just wanted to clear up my thoughts a little bit more on where I started with this and why I said the things I said in my first episode. But I don't want to keep going down the political rabbit hole. Like I said, I'm not a political pundit. I know nothing. And so if any of this I got wrong, if I'm seeing this through the wrong set of lenses, please let me know. I'd be happy to correct myself or research further into it. But now I want to shift gears and jump into what I think, and many of us I think was one of the biggest stories of 2025, and that was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. it has completely taken over all media and all discussion. You know, I'm sure you've all come across Candace. I'm sure many of you have probably seen Baron Coleman's podcast at this point. He's taken off like a rocket ship. Ian Carroll. There's tons of people that are putting their thoughts into this and doing their own investigations. And so I'm not gonna sit here and go down the Charlie Kirk investigation thing. I'm gonna leave that to the people who have been on this since day one, because I think they're doing a phenomenal job at it. And I'm not just gonna repeat and sit here and have y'all repeat what tons of other people are already saying. What I do want to say though is the federal narrative of Charlie Kirk being shot by a 30-06 by Tyler Robinson from the top of the Losi Center at UVU, I think is crap. There's tons of theories out there, from being shot with a palm gun to electrocution, drones, exploding microphones, and I don't know the truth. And there's tons of other people, like I said, who have been digging into this since day one that are doing a phenomenal job. And so I'm not going to just repeat what they have already said. But like I said, I do not know the truth, but I definitely do not believe the official narrative. And so what I do want to do is look at past other horrific events, things that we maybe know a little bit more on, and that we do know. Because Karl Marx, you know, he said history repeats itself, first as tragedy, second as farce. And I don't want to get into the whole Karl Marx thing. I mean, that's a whole other path of its own, and you can think what you want. And like I said, I don't know anything, but I think that quote is very, very relevant to today. And so what I want to jump into and look at today is the Garland, Texas terrorist attack at the Curtis Calwell Center. So before this, I didn't know anything about this. I mean, this was just another one of those ones that kind of seemed like it was in the media, and then it disappeared very, very quickly. So for those of you that don't know, let's just do a short little recap. So on May 3rd, 2015, a failed terrorist attack which ended in a shootout with police guarding the event and the deaths of 2 perpetrators. The attackers shot an unarmed security officer in the ankle. Shortly after opening fire, both attackers were shot by an off-duty Garland police officer and killed by SWAT. The FBI had been monitoring the 2 attackers for years, and an undercover agent was right behind them when the first shots were fired. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, I hope I'm saying that right, ISIL, claimed responsibility for the attack, but was never verified by federal law enforcement. So at this Curtis Calwell Center, on May 3rd, 2015, the first annual Muhammad Art Exhibit and Contest event was hosted at the Curtis Calwell Center, set up by the American Freedom Defense Initiative, or Stop Islamization. That's a tongue twister for me. Or Stop Islamization of America. The center previously hosted a fundraiser in January called Stand with the Prophet in Honor and Respect, which was organized to combat negative stereotypes of Islam. So right there, you pretty much have 2 completely different ends of the spectrum ideas hosting an event at the same area just a few months apart. At this May 3rd event, there was roughly 150 attendees, and they hosted a Draw Muhammad cartoon contest. They were offering a $10,000 reward for the winning cartoon, and there was roughly 350 submissions submitted. The prize was awarded to Bosch Faustine, an American cartoonist and anti-Islam activist who is known for drawing the Islamic prophet Muhammad. He submitted 6 drawings into this contest, and then it also said that he was set to collect $12,500, I believe. So I don't know where that other $2,500 came from. But yeah, that's a little bit of the background and what ended up happening. So I want to try to just take you all down what I was able to find. Give you guys a bit of background on who these perpetrators were, who these terrorists were that attempted this attack. Thankfully, nobody was killed. Only the security guard that was shot, I believe it was actually in the calf. That said ankle though, but I believe it was actually in the calf. Was the only injury I could find, minus the two terrorists being killed by the police officer. So these two perpetrators were Elton Simpson, 30, right here on the left, and Nadir Sufi, 34, on the right. So Simpson, born in Illinois, moved to Phoenix, Arizona at a young age, converted to Islam while in high school. He'd been on the FBI's radar in 2006 due to his stated intent to travel to Somalia and join fellow jihadists. In 2009, Simpson told an FBI informant, "I'm telling you, man, we can make it to the battlefield. It's time to roll." He was also recorded saying, "If you get shot or you get killed," this kind of confused me. So I think what he's saying is, if you get shot or you get killed, it's straight away, meaning straight away into heaven. That's what we're here for, so why not take that route? In 2010, he was arrested by federal agents as the result of a 4-year investigation. He was found guilty of making a false statement regarding international and domestic terrorism and was sentenced to 3 years probation in 2011. He was put on the U.S. no-fly list. He had previously intended to travel with others to Syria to fight with the ISIL. And then Sufi, born in Texas, raised in Alabama, moved to Pakistan in the 90s, I believe, with his father. It might be his mother. Moved back to the U.S. in 1998 to Utah, then to Phoenix, Arizona. So that's where these guys are linking up, is in Arizona. In the mid-2000s. Sufi was arrested and charged for more than 20 minor offenses, most of them traffic violations. So I'm assuming speeding tickets, parking tickets, what have you, as well as alcohol-related charges, a controlled substance, and possessing drug paraphernalia, which was dismissed, and a misdemeanor assault charge, which was also dismissed. And then we have this third accomplice, which he was not involved in the actual attack at the Curtis Calwell Center, but he was the one who was responsible for housing Simpson and Sufi, as well as supplying them with the firearms and ammunition that were used for the attack. So Abdul Malik Abdul Karim, born in Pennsylvania, was responsible for housing Simpson and Sufi at his home, as well as supplying them with the firearms and ammunition used in the attack. Sentenced in 2017 to 30 years in federal prison, followed by a lifetime of post-release supervision for providing material support to ISIS. So this sentencing, I believe, stems from the Curtis Calwell Center attack, the May 3rd attack. He had been under investigation by authorities since 2012, reportedly researched how to join ISIS in the Middle East before June 2014, when he is believed to have begun planning domestic attacks on behalf of ISIS alongside Simpson and Sufi. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, he exhorted and encouraged both men to carry out the attack on the Draw Muhammad cartoon contest. And then the attack. So at approximately 6:50 p.m., two men, Simpson and Sufi, wearing body armor and equipped with 3 rifles and 3 handguns and 1,500 rounds of ammunition, drove up to a police car that was parked next to a barricade erected in front of the center. The 2 gunmen got out of their vehicle and fired dozens of rounds at the police car, shooting the Garland ISD security guard. Minutes prior to the attack, one of the gunmen posted a tweet, "May Allah accept us as Mujahideen, #Texas attack." I'm not sure which one of the gunmen posted this. I wasn't able to find that, but this was supposedly tweeted just a few minutes prior to them arriving at the Curtis Calwell Center. So a little bit about the FBI and this situation. The FBI had been monitoring the 2 attackers for years, and an undercover agent was right behind them when the first shots were fired. Evidence submitted to court in previous cases confirmed that an FBI undercover agent was in communication with the attackers and present at the Calwell Center during the attack. When he saw the attack underway, he attempted to flee and was promptly stopped at gunpoint by Garland police. So this was put together by the Associated Press. This is essentially the site of the shootout. This down here, which I'll have another one of these pulled up here in a bit, is the Curtis Calwell Center. And then this is the gunman's car where they essentially stopped. I believe there was a barricade right here. And then this was the FBI agent's car, who was reportedly right behind them. As they started shooting, he attempted to take off going eastbound before he was pulled over by Garland police. So In July 2015, Kareem's trial, which is the accomplice that we went through, unsealed documents showed how a confidential informant told authorities that Kareem planned to attack the event alongside Simpson and Sufi, and was angry when the source wouldn't sell him silencers and bulletproof vests. A confidential witness told authorities that Kareem drove Simpson and Sufi to desert locations in Arizona to fire assault weapons several months prior to the attack. I don't think I was able to actually find anything on how Kareem acquired the actual weapons that were used. Right here was saying that this informant refused to sell him silencers and bulletproof vests. But I know that there was something in the wiki that said that he had tried to, I think, falsify insurance claims to essentially try to get money to pay for all this. And then here's our confidential informant, I believe. Dabla Deng spent 3 years pretending to be Simpson's friend. They met up at the mosque in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think that's where he kind of befriended him. And he was paid $132,000 by FBI. He taped more than 1,500 hours of their conversation and finally recorded him talking about traveling overseas to wage jihad. Simpson lied to the FBI about it and got 3 years probation. So Dan Maynard, attorney for Kareem, found after Kareem's trial that the FBI had an undercover agent who had been texting with Simpson less than 3 weeks before the attack. And he said to him, "Tear up Texas." So this was one of the things that really made my ears perk up and really made me want to start digging into this. I saw a clip, and I should have pulled it for this, but from Tucker Carlson's podcast, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the gentleman who he had on, but he's the one who had mentioned this, and the way he pronounced, or the way he told the story was, this attack took place, the FBI agent was sitting behind them snapping pictures, literally right before the attack. As soon as the shots started getting fired, he sped off and was shortly thereafter stopped by Garland police. And upon seizing his cell phone from them, the police found this text between him and Simpson where the FBI agent, the undercover agent, had texted Simpson, "Tear up Texas." More documents later released showed the undercover FBI agent was in a car directly behind Alton Simpson and Nadir Sufi when they started shooting. This cell phone photo of school security guard Bruce Joyner and police officer Greg Stevens was taken by the undercover agent seconds before the attack. So it's a real, let me make it bigger. It's a real grainy photo. But I'm assuming right here, you can barely see them, are the two, is the security guard and the police officer. And so right here, an undercover FBI agent's grainy cell phone photo of Garland ISD security officer Bruce Joyner and Garland police officer Greg Stevens, taken from a car 30 seconds before terrorists opened gunfire on officers on the May 3rd, 2015. So the security guard that was actually shot in the calf attempted to sue the FBI and I believe the DOJ in October 2017, claiming the FBI was partially responsible for his injuries. Let's blow this up. And so this is from the Dallas Morning News. Security guard injured in Garland terror attack, tormented by belief that FBI knew of ISIS plot. And he says, "I want to stop the practice," says Garland school guard Bruce Joyner, who was shot in the attack. "If this is the FBI strategy, it's a bad strategy." So Joyner, which is the security guard right here, he had no idea that at the same moment, court records show an undercover FBI agent investigating terrorism was sitting in a nearby car snapping a cell phone photo of him and Garland police officer Greg Stevens. Joyner was struck in the left calf as he ran behind a tree. His wounds marked him as the first ISIS victim on U.S. soil. He wonders whether the FBI could have prevented the shooting. He wonders if agents knew he was about to be attacked. He wonders if his own government knowingly let him and the dozens of other officers and event attendees be placed in danger. And so here's that breakdown of the FBI agent's car and the shootout site. Joyner has requested records about the incident from the Garland Police Department, but the department has denied his request, citing an ongoing criminal investigation, despite the fact that the 2 gunmen are dead and a 3rd suspect has been convicted in Phoenix and sentenced to 30 years. And then he says the case is closed. Why is the city of Garland hiding this? Several members of Congress are demanding answers from the FBI about its handling of the case. Right here, the FBI acknowledged that investigators had learned that one of the suspects, Simpson, might go to the event. The FBI director, James Comey, said the FBI sent a bulletin to Garland police 3 hours before the attack, warning them that Simpson might show up, but Comey also said he didn't believe Garland police at the scene were aware of the bulletin. Garland police confirmed at the time that officers on the ground did not know about the warning. FBI records show that an undercover agent posing as an Islamic terrorist extremist communicated with Simpson about the cartoon contest 10 days before earlier. I don't understand that. 10 days before. On April 24, 2015, Simpson alluded to targeting the cartoon contest to the agent the day before. Simpson had tweeted a link to a story about the contest. Did you see that link I posted about Texas? Simpson asked the agent. Tear up Texas, the undercover agent replied. Bro, you don't have to say that. You know what happened in Paris, Simpson said, apparently referring to the ISIS-inspired attack that January on the... Oh, inspired by the ISIS-inspired attack that January on the Charlie Hebdo magazine that had published cartoons of Muhammad. So that goes without saying, no need to be direct. And here are those that little bit more of a breakdown. So here was the shootout site. Here's the street that the undercover agent took off on. Here's the Curtis Calwell Center. I'm assuming this is the front side of it. Right here, 6:50 p.m. The gunman's car stopped, pointed eastbound on Naaman Forest Boulevard. So here's our security guards, the police car, and then our terrorist car. Security officer Bruce Joyner approached the vehicle. 2 gunmen got out of the car with assault rifles drawn, went to the rear of the vehicle, and began firing on the 2 officers. Off-duty Garland traffic officer Greg Stevens shot and killed both gunmen. Officer Joyner was shot in the lower leg. And I also believe that nothing ever came of this lawsuit. I believe that it was dismissed. And then, as stated, a lot of congressmen, chairmen, other people of the government started asking questions about this. And so this comes from Chairman Grassley. Let me get his full name. Charles E. Grassley, Chairman Committee of the Judiciary. And he wrote to James Comey in April 27, 2017, regarding a 60 Minutes segment that aired on March 26, 2017, revealed that an undercover FBI agent had been communicating with one of the terrorists just weeks before the attack, had traveled to Garland, was present at the scene of the attack, and took photos of the terrorists moments before the attack. Contradicting your statement 2015 that the FBI did not know that Simpson was traveling to Garland and did not have any indication that Simpson planned to attack the event. It also contradicts information you reportedly provided in 2015 to Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee Chairman Ron Johnson. The FBI allegedly continues to stonewall Chairman Johnson's request for information by refusing to provide a briefing to committee staff. The FBI closed its case on Simpson in 2014, but reopened it several weeks before the attack because of the statements that Simpson made on social media. Fewer than 3 weeks before the attack, an undercover FBI agent was communicating with Simpson over a social media application. On April 24th, 2015, Simpson sent the agent a link to the to the Prophet Muhammad contest, to which the agent replied, "Tear up Texas." In response, Simpson cautioned the agent against discussing the attacks in overt terms, writing, "Bro, you don't have to say that. You know what happened in Paris. I think yes or no." And so it goes without saying, no need to be direct. The undercover FBI agent was also in contact with Eric Jamal Hendricks, who had initially connected the agent to Simpson. Hendricks urged the agent to go to the drawing contest with Simpson and make your voice heard, which another agent interpreted as encouragement to commit an act of violence. The agent traveled to Garland and alerted Hendricks when he arrived at the contest. Hendricks asked the agent questions about the security posture surrounding the event and about whether the agent was armed. When the attack started, the agent fled the scene but was stopped at gunpoint by the Garland police. And so Grassley says, "Please provide numbered written responses to the following questions in a briefing for committee staff no later than May 12th, 2017. And I think actually May 3rd, 2017 was the FBI's hearing, the one that pretty much everybody in all news took over, that Comey had to testify in. And so Grassley asked, when did the FBI know that the undercover FBI agent was traveling to Garland, Texas? Who within the FBI authorized an uncovered FBI agent to travel to Garland, Texas, and why? Did the FBI suspect that Simpson and Sufi planned an attack at the drawing contest? If yes, what was the basis for suspicion? Did the FBI share its suspicion with the Garland Police Department or any other law enforcement agency? If not, why not? Did the undercover FBI agent meet with Simpson or Sufi in Garland prior to the attack? Did the FBI have any formal or informal operational plan to intervene to stop Simpson and Sufi from carrying out an attack? And so then here's the Comey at Senate Judiciary Committee hearing titled Oversight of Federal Bureau of Investigation. Just double checking I didn't miss anything on this for y'all. I spent like 3 days researching this and putting this all together, so I don't want to miss anything. So I just ran this hearing through ChatGPT, so I didn't have to have you all sit here and watch me read it all, but just pretty much some quick points of it. So pretty much all that was talked about was the FBI's mission and threat environment. Comey outlined the FBI's core priorities, emphasizing counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cyber threats, and law enforcement cooperation. There was a large part of it on counterterrorism focus. A substantial portion of Comey's prepared statement described how terrorism threats have evolved, including inspired attackers, foreign directed plots, and social media radicalization, and how the FBI works with partners to counter these. And then, of course, the other issues that were covered was the FBI's role in the 2016 election, including the Russian probe and the Clinton email investigation, which we discussed at the top of this. Oversight questions about transparency and decision-making and internal FBI procedures and policies. So I just asked it point blank, did Comey discuss this at all? Because remember, Grassley was asking for answers to this by May 12th of 2017, and this hearing took place on May 3rd of 2017. And just direct answer, no. In the publicly released testimony, Comey did not specifically discuss the May 3rd, 2015 Curtis Calwell Center attack in Garland, Texas. And so the bottom line, Comey's May 3rd, 2017 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee focused mainly on the FBI's overreaching threat priorities, counterterrorism, and oversight issues, and in practice, discussions about the Russia investigation and the Clinton email matter. He did not directly discuss the Garland, Texas attack in his public remarks during that hearing. So that's pretty much all I was able to find. It looks like a lot of it was just kind of stonewalled. Nothing else really ever came out about it, at least nothing that I was able to find. And like I said, I just wanted to look back at some things that we do know, which we really don't know much about this, but this is what I was able to find. And I think it just shows, the extent that some of these agencies will go to, and the possibility that they're even willing to put Americans in harm's way for the larger picture. Now, again, like I said, my disclaimer, I know absolutely nothing. So definitely do your own research. If you look into this and you find anything else that I missed, please let me know. I'd be happy to correct myself. But that's pretty much what I have for you all today. I hope this made sense. I hope I wasn't too all over the place for you all. I'm hoping I get better at this as I go along. I think it's super impressive. The people that do this, you know, if you guys watch Ian, you can probably tell I'm definitely modeling his method that he uses to break down this information and get it out to you all. And just even with that, I mean, he's a rock star at it, because when going through all this, I don't understand how you don't just go off the rails and just keep falling into different little rabbit holes and losing track of what your overall story you're trying to put together is, you know, because just right here on the wiki search of the Curtis Calwell Center, let me pull this up. You have some of the legal issues that arose from this. Aside from the injured security guard, Bruce Joyner, filed a federal lawsuit in October 2017 against the FBI and DOJ. Evidence submitted in the court cases confirmed that the FBI undercover agent was in communication with the attackers and present at the Calwell Center during the attack. And then there it is. On December 21st, 2018, U.S. District Court Judge Karen Gren Scholler dismissed Joyner's lawsuit on grounds of sovereign immunity, which is a legal doctrine whereby a sovereign or state cannot commit a legal wrong and is immune from civil suit or criminal prosecution. Strictly speaking, in modern texts in its own courts, state immunity is a similar, stronger doctrine that applies to foreign courts. So there's that. And then this was one that kind of took me sideways a little bit too, that I might want to look a little bit deeper into. But the Chicago Tribune reported on August 1st that Sufi, despite his long rap sheet, purchased a 9mm gun in 2010 at Lone Wolf Trading Company, one of the private companies encouraged by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, so the ATF, to sell weapons to persons who normally would not be legally allowed such purchases, an action that would later become the ATF gun walking scandal. And pretty much if you just hover over that and look at what this little gun walking scandal was, it was a tactic used by the Arizona U.S. Attorney's Office and the Arizona Field Office of the United States Bureau of, or by the ATF, which ran a series of sting operations between 2006 and 2011 in Tucson and Phoenix. So just my quick understanding of that was they were allowing these companies to essentially sell firearms to individuals who, through any other legal procedure, would not be able to obtain them. And they were using it as a sting operation. You know, I mean, I'm sure we've all seen a ton of those videos where they use the bait car, you know, and they're monitoring it. And as soon as they get in, they boom, bust them. I think that's what they were doing here, but just with firearms. So yeah, that's pretty wild. So yeah, I appreciate y'all watching if you made it through this far. My goal right now is to hopefully be able to put out, you know, one video a week right now, just so it gives me time to really research this stuff, kind of be able to give you guys a thorough understanding and a better breakdown of a lot of this. And as always, if you guys enjoy this, like and subscribe. Remember, I know absolutely nothing. Do your own research. Correct me if I got anything wrong. If I misspoke anywhere, definitely let me know. But that's all I have for you all today. I appreciate you all. Peace.